On the 7th of June, 1099, under the searing sun of the dusty deserts of Palestine, a long column of weary Christian troops finally arrived at their ultimate destination, the holy city of Jerusalem. This moment marked the beginning of the siege of Jerusalem, the dramatic culmination of years of effort, struggle, and sacrifice in the First Crusade. The First Crusade had been launched 4 years earlier, in 1095, at the behest of Byzantine Emperor Alexius I Comnenus. His urgent plea to Western Europe called for aid in reclaiming lost territories from the rapidly expanding Muslim states in the East. In response, the kingdoms of Europe organized a large-scale military expedition, aiming not only to assist the Byzantine Empire, but also to establish Christian dominion in the Holy Land and reclaim the sacred city of Jerusalem. The journey to Jerusalem had been grueling. The Crusaders faced countless hardships, including internal conflicts, fierce resistance from Muslim forces, harsh weather conditions, and chronic shortages of food and water. Now, at last, their prize lay before them. The Crusader army, composed of approximately 1,300 men, of which only 1,500 were knights, was a coalition of forces from across Europe. Hundreds of key leaders included Raymond IV, Count of Toulouse, Duke Robert II of Normandy, eldest son of William the Conqueror, Count Robert II of Flanders, and the renowned Norman knight Tancred. The overall command rested with Godfrey of Bouillon, who would direct the siege with determination. Within the city walls, Jerusalem's defenders, led by Iftikhar ad-Dawla, the Fatimid governor of Jerusalem, were well prepared. They had stockpiled provisions, fortified defenses, and mustered a formidable garrison of Arab and Sudanese troops. One of Iftikhar's strategic measures was to poison nearby wells, forcing the Crusaders to undertake treacherous 6-mile journeys under the blazing sun to access fresh water. Furthermore, a 400-strength Muslim cavalry patrol continually harassed Crusader foraging parties, further straining their resources. Godfrey of Bouillon understood that the Crusaders could not afford a prolonged siege. They lacked the men and supplies to outlast the city's defenders, making a direct assault their only viable option. The geography of Jerusalem, with deep ravines flanking its eastern and western walls, limited the areas where the Crusaders could attack. Raymond IV established his camp to the south, while the remainder of the Crusader forces prepared for an assault on the northern wall. The first assault on Jerusalem's walls began on June 13, 1099. Crusader infantry carried ladders to scale the northern defenses, while enduring relentless barrages of arrows from Fatimid archers. Despite their efforts, the attackers failed to breach the walls. Their limited supply of wood used to construct the ladders had been exhausted, and the surrounding forests had already been depleted by the city's defenders. This setback stalled the Crusaders' progress, forcing them to scour the region for building materials. Four days later, fortune favored the Crusaders. A small Christian fleet arrived at the port of Jaffa, delivering much-needed supplies, including timber for siege engines. However, the journey to transport these resources to the Crusader camp was fraught with peril. Fatimid cavalry ambushed the convoys, leading to fierce skirmishes. Eventually, Crusader reinforcements arrived, repelling the Muslim attackers and ensuring the supplies reached Jerusalem. Using this timber, the Crusaders constructed new siege engines, including a battering ram and 2 siege towers. By July 13, a month after the initial assault, the Crusaders were ready for their final push. The southern siege tower was under Raymond IV's command, while Godfrey of Bouillon oversaw the northern attack. Fatimid defenders had prepared thoroughly, erecting barricades and positioning mangonels to target the siege towers. The Crusaders knew that failure was not an option. With not their siege engines, they would have no hope of breaching the walls. The decisive assault began with the battering ram clearing a path through the barricades, despite relentless attacks from Fatimid skirmishers and archers. On the southern front, Raymond IV's siege tower faced heavy resistance and was eventually set ablaze by flaming arrows. Meanwhile, on the northern side, Godfrey's forces pressed on with their siege tower, enduring intense fire from the defenders. That evening, he ordered a meeting. After days of brutal fighting, the northern siege tower finally reached the walls, allowing the Crusaders to storm the battlements. Once the Crusaders gained control of the walls, chaos erupted within the city. Waves of Christian soldiers poured into Jerusalem, overwhelming the remaining defenders. What followed was a brutal massacre, with the Crusaders killing tens of thousands of residents, Muslim and Jewish, men, women, and children alike. Even contemporary chroniclers describe the violence as horrific and barbaric. Despite the bloodshed, the capture of Jerusalem was a monumental victory for Christendom. It marked the fulfillment of the First Crusade's objective and the establishment of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, with Godfrey of Bouillon as its first ruler. This triumph secured a foothold for the Crusader states in the Holy Land, setting the stage for future conflicts and shaping the history of the region for centuries to come.